Hey teachers, how many of you are always saying that more time in your day would help solve some of the problems of everything we have on our plates right now? I know I would raise my hand to that question. Well, today I'm here to talk to you about a time-saving solution that just might be beneficial and helpful for you and your students. What might that be? Teaching reading and science at the exact same time. If you haven't heard by now, I just launched my brand new Science Smash Up series. These are science and reading nonfiction units that can be used in reading or in science to teach about the world around us and practice vital reading skills and strategies at the exact same time. So let's talk real quick about why it is so important and vital to teach reading and science at the same time. Not does it just save us time in the long run by combining both of these really important subjects together, but you're going to get so much more for your time than you even thought. And that's what we're going to drill into tonight. So the very first thing, which is probably the most important reason why teaching reading and science together, is that it helps build your students' background knowledge. With the science of reading being a huge buzz right now, and I don't mean that it's a trend, it's not going to go away, but it definitely is a hot topic right now. And with the science of reading, schema or background knowledge is a big focal point. Students need to have schema to be able to understand what they are reading, whether it be fiction, nonfiction, or any other given genre. So how do we as teachers help expand and build our students' schema? Well, teaching science is step one. Being able to expose our students to a variety of content in science helps to expand their background knowledge. So I can teach science and reading at the same time while building their background knowledge. So they're going to have better comprehension later on once they absorb the content in science and they are presented with it later on in a different format. They're going to be able to better consume that information, comprehend that information, because they have information already in their brains stored to be able to begin the understanding process with. So when you're teaching reading and science at the same time, not only are you helping practice those really important reading skills and strategies such as main idea, visualization, and text structure, but you're also consuming vital information that's helping expand their schema, which will help them in the long run with their language and reading comprehension combined. So it's a huge bonus as far as why we should teach these two subjects at the same time, that not only builds upon getting more time in your day. So in my reading smash ups, you will see that they are completely and 100% nonfiction based. This one is from my animals unit. And as you kind of go through, you'll see that it's all science based, but the activities and question prompts and things that the students are doing are based on reading skills, which helps them to then better understand the information in the science units, and therefore they're increasing their schema, they're practicing those reading comprehension skills. It's really a win-win for everyone. And then of course, we're saving time because we're teaching really two subjects at the same time, okay? But why else would it be beneficial to teach science and reading at the same time? Here's a big one: higher level of interest and engagement. Students love reading about nonfiction. You present them with two different books, one nonfiction and one fiction, I almost guarantee you your students are going to reach towards the nonfiction. The real world is so fascinating to them. They just want to consume that information. So when we are presenting our students with nonfiction information, their level of interest and engagement is actually higher. And brain science shows us that if we have increased motivation and interest and curiosity in what we're reading, our ability to comprehend that information increases as well. So if you're giving your students something that you know they're going to be interested in, which I know a lot of students are interested in animals, right? So by giving them this content and saying, we're going to learn about our animals, we're going to learn about our science standards that contain animals, like animal cycles and food chains and different standards such as those, but we're also going to practice reading skills to be able to understand this information better. We're going to look at the main idea of this paragraph. We're going to look at cause and effect relationships in chapter 2. We're going to be able to summarize in chapter 3. So we're combining our understanding of reading skills with the motivation and high interest level of the content we're bringing towards the students to be able to really gain their interest and be able to really combat all things science, reading, and building that background knowledge like we just mentioned. So presenting them with this type of information, this nonfiction basis, is really important because they're going to be more curious, they're going to be more interested, and that just really sets off the chain of reaction that we want to see. They're interested, they want to read, they're practicing reading skills to be able to learn the science standards. It all just creates this beautiful bouquet of learning in one instance, in one lesson, in one unit, and it just works out beautifully. So another reason that you should teach reading and science at the same time is its absolute practical application. Students are given real world examples throughout the text that they receive. They're given real world experiences, real world resources. In my units, the science mashups, they're actually provided 2 different hands-on lab experiences where they get to get their hands dirty and experience the science that they are reading about in their units. So through the nonfiction application and the nonfiction focused, even though we're practicing reading, it's still setting them up for that real world practical application, which is absolutely needed in today's society. Kind of stemming from that as well, it also helps to connect career and employment skills. I know your state probably has standards out there that are called career and ready assessments or career and ready standards, right? They're career focused. So by providing students with ample nonfiction exposure and focusing on science as a true focal point and supporting it with reading, we're allowing students to explore career options in the real world and where they possibly want their future to go. So when they get into higher grades, they're going to know and have background knowledge about a wide variety of science opportunities, maybe even outside of science, of course, but lots of different opportunities for their career, all because we had a focal point of science with reading support for them to be able to understand the science that they are reading. And then our final point, or my final point tonight of why it is so important to merge science and reading at the same time, is that you are using multiple reading skills when you're reading about science. My very first principal back in the day when I was teaching in the classroom, he used to tell me that when we are teaching science and social studies, when we are reading these 2 content-based texts or teaching these content-based subjects, that it's really just fancy reading. And that really struck a chord with me because I believe it's true to this day. When we are reading about social studies or we are reading about science, our reading skills and strategies that we focus on in reading class, they don't go away. We just are using them with a different type of text. So we're still summarizing. We're still using main idea. We're still making inferences and talking about cause and effect and asking questions and visualizing. Every reading skill that you could possibly think of, we use when we read science. So why not teach science and use reading as the support strategy at the same time? So when we're using skills, that we are teaching in reading to help us learn the science standards, it makes perfect sense. It's kind of crazy to not teach them at the same time. So I hope that I've convinced you just a little bit tonight to think about how you can really help merge these two areas that in the past they have been very separate. Yes, we may have had a nonfiction unit kind of emerge through our reading curriculum, but if you really think about it, almost everything we teach in reading can be taught through science. So I absolutely encourage you to go take a look at my new science smash-ups. I will have social studies smash-ups coming soon as well, but right now I have lots of science smash-up units out and available. They all come with their own student reader, plus an entire workbook where students work through reading activities to support their understanding of the content, as well as science support. They come with assessments, vocabulary activities, centers, small group activities, as well as close reads that are differentiated. So really anything that you could possibly need and want to teach science and reading at the same time is included in these amazing units. So why not? That's my question right now. Why not? Why not teach reading and science at the same time? Maybe not every week, maybe not the entire year, but we definitely want to see the value and the power of merging these two really important contents or subjects together to see the absolute and utmost power of them combined. So if you have any questions about why we should teach reading and science together or what is included in my science smash-ups, definitely make sure to drop a comment below. But I hope you'll go not just to check out the units, but really to think about the information that I presented to you tonight, helping to build background knowledge, which is super important, bringing up their level of interest and engagement, thinking about the practical application and the career ready and employment skills that they're going to be receiving. And then of course, the review and the application of multiple reading skills that we are already teaching and reviewing that they will then use to understand the science or social studies content so much better than they already do. It is absolutely critical to bring these two subjects together, and I think you will see the power in that if you try it out yourself. So drop me a comment or question below. I'm happy to chat more with you, but I hope this video kind of starts the exposure and the eye-opening that this may be an area that you want to explore more. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and the conversation is not over. It's just beginning. We'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.